All right, so today we're going to talk about prepaid construction costs and how they relate to a construction loan. One of the questions that we get a ton is, does the money that we put towards our plans and design and the permits and fees that we're paying before our actual construction loan is funded, does that actually get counted towards our down payment? And I want to give you an example of a project that we are right now working on. The loan is almost closed on this, and we're getting ready. I think we're going to start the project maybe in a few weeks or so. Once we get the loan closed, and then we can get the grading contractor set up to go out on this project. But what happens is whenever you are at the initial stage of doing the design on your to build a home or even build an accessory dwelling unit, what you're going to do is you're going to apply. You'll typically apply for a loan, make sure you can get qualified for a certain amount of money, so then we can design the house to meet your budget based on what, if you have land, what the cost of land is, site improvements, plus the actual construction of the home, so we can make sure that you're going to be able to qualify for the loan and be comfortable with the amount of money you have to put down on the project. So then what the bank will do is they'll tell you, well, yeah, we can go up to a certain LTV or a loan value, loan to value on the project. And that could say, this particular one was about 10% down, or 5%. This one was 5% down, but you could be, 10%, 20% is pretty typical, even 25%. And you want to make sure that, if you're trying to get away from PMI, private mortgage insurance, you want to be at least have 20% down into a project. And so if you already own the property prior to closing on the construction loan, meaning that you've taken title of the property, you can they will use a loan to value. So you versus if you're buying land with a construction, closing on the land, paying for it with a construction loan, you have to use a loan to cost. And we talked about that a few weeks back. You can look at that. There's a loan. What's the difference between loan to cost and loan to value, and go through that. But ultimately, if you own the property, they're going to use a loan to value. So this particular property had a loan to value of, I think it was had an appraised value of $770,000. So the actual loan amount was going to be around $730,000. So they ended up needing to have 5% into this project. It was the minimum down payment that they were being required to have into the project. So what we had worked this client prior, and they had paid for some plans and design that has been happening throughout the process, getting the plans drawn, and then we submitted those to the county, and then the county started processing permits. So in the process of doing that, we're paying plan check fees, we're paying permit fees, and which is water meter fees. There is a chunk of money. So all of these things add up, and in the end, I think the fees were somewhere around $46,000. So that's a little bit more than the 5% that they needed to actually have for their down payment. And as you're wondering, okay, what happens to that money? Because that money was paid, outside of it was just a design agreement. It wasn't actually part of the building contract. So what we do is we actually wrote up this contract for this house to include all of those expenses that are in there, and this is with the lender. So they think the total contract amount was somewhere around $730,000, and or 720 something to build this house. So and then we give the lender a billing, or like it's a billing schedule is what we call it, but it's essentially the draws that we get at certain stages of the project when we hit certain completion points with the lender. So the initial draw that comes off of that it's at closing, meaning that when the loan funds initially, so they close and the property construction loan closes, there's an initial disbursement that happens. So this particular bank, which is One Trust Bank, they will give a 5% disbursement to the builder, and then what they do on that first draw is they will. This particular one was about $87,000, and on that $87,000, that was for permits, fees, design, and then and the few other soft costs on the front end that the client is paying. So what happens is the money that they have paid, say that $46,000 for all the plans, designs, and permit fees, they've already prepaid. As long as they provide those receipts back to the bank, and they can show proof of payment that that's happened, then what the bank does is they just they count that towards the down payment. So they're not actually having to come and bring more money to the closing in order to get the project done. So they can use that $46,000 as their down payment, and that takes care of it. So what the bank does as far as on the builder's side is they actually will reduce, so that $87,000 line item on that first draw, they reduce that down by $46,000. So there's only roughly about 40 grand or so that can be drawn off of that line item, but they still limit that to 5%. So on the initial close, so that money is dispersed and wired into the builder's account, at the initial close of escrow. But it allows that client to, if they had to come out of pocket during the process for plans and design, they do not have to, come up with additional monies in order to get that down payment requirement met with the bank. So, so that's, and then one other thing that comes up a lot is, hey, do I have to have a permit before the construction loan closes? And the answer is no. There's a certain time frame of whenever the bank, the building time frame. This particular bank is 9 months, so they give us 9 months to build a house before they have an extension fee that they charge. So you just want to make sure that that permit is really close to being issued, so when you close, there's not a 2-3 month lag on waiting for a permit, and then it delays that construction loan to where you can't get the project done in time before you have to do an extension. So some banks are very easy to get an extension. It doesn't cost hardly any money at all. And then other banks, it's a chunk of money. So it could be in thousands of dollars to do an extension. So you want to make sure that you do have that planned out pretty well. But you do not have to have a permit in order to get a project funding. You just have to have a completed set of plans, and you really need to make sure that things submitted to the county, so or city, that way it's being processed and you have a good timeline on when that permit's going to be issued. So all right, so I hope that helps. If you have more questions, you want more information about building a custom home or buying land, visit our website. You can go to our resources page. We got a ton of information you could download on buying land. We have a how to buy land guide. We have a custom home building cost guide, ADU cost guide, ton of information there. There's also a really comprehensive FAQ page that you can take a look at. It's got a ton of information. So, all right, thanks for your time today, and have a great rest of your day.